Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to MyGolfDNA, where we help you get better at the game of golf by giving you tons of information as to what you're doing, why you're doing it, and most importantly,
how you're gonna get it done.
How you're going to get the job done. Today is a beautiful day in paradise. We are on a little field trip here at MyGolfDNA. We are up at Indigo Run in South Carolina.
That's right.
The low country, and it is hot. We were trying to get away from the hot weather down in Florida, but it is hot out here.
It might be hotter.
We just need a little bit of wind.
Just a little bit, please.
But the good news is that Jason and I are out here today because we are going to help you start the processes of becoming a better driver of the golf ball. Jace, what's the number one thing that we see when it comes to getting better at the game of golf that we see people struggle with?
Practicing.
Practicing. We can teach you movement pretty quickly, but when it comes down to it, in order for you to actually make a real change, it's not going to happen in 7 swings or 10 swings, no matter how many times Performance Golf puts out a video telling you that it's going to be 10 swings or less. You have to go through the biological processes of change. In order to do that, that means you need to practice properly. And what does practice properly look like? Well, you got to be consistent. You got to make sure that your body movements are exactly the same. So in order for you to be able to back check that, you probably want to have a camera with you. So always go through my drills, especially when you see that I'm stacking things in and not working on little feel fixes. Make sure that you're using a camera so that you can validate and back check the movements that we're teaching you. Now, in step number 1 today, you're not going to need anything other than your driver. The first step that we're going to be working on here, though, is getting you comfortable with shifting your weight properly into your lead side. And there's a lot of movement that goes into this, but we're going to be focusing in on trying to simplify this for you at first. And we're going to do about 20 to 25 reps. And then in step number 2 is when we're going to start to really work on the sequence of movements inside of that weight shift. And then the third and final step is when we start really turning on the gas and you start to feel what it's like to be able to create that really big acceleration in the club face. So what you're going to leave this video with is you're going to leave this video with a better understanding on how to hit the center of the club face. You're going to leave this video with a better understanding of how to produce more speed more efficiently. And you're going to leave this video understanding what it takes to be able to create little bits of curvature in your shot shape, whether you want to hit a draw or a fade. That's pretty exciting. Step number 1, coming up. I almost forgot. Before we start teaching you this drill, we noticed that a lot of you are watching our videos but are not yet subscribed to the channel. Do us a big favor, head down below and hit that subscribe button for us. Make sure you turn on your bell notifications, and if you like today's video, leave us a thumbs up because it helps us, feel good about ourselves. And if you have any questions or comments on today's drill, please feel free to post that up below and we'll help you out as best we possibly can. First order of business, I'm gonna have Jace doing a lot of the demonstration here today as I kind of walk you through piece by piece what we want you to do. A lot of you at home are afraid to shift your weight properly to start your downswing. And a lot of you at home will tend to create a lot of big tilt to your spine as you start to move to your lead side. And the reason for that is simple. With your driver, this is the one club in the bag that's designed to hit up on. It's designed to hit with positive angle of attack. And so a lot of you at home start to try to make that process happen way too soon. You start from the top of the golf swing by leaning your spine back, and what that does is it simply makes you not shift your weight. But what it's also doing is it's starting to create too much of an ascending blow, and that's when you can start hitting top shots. You can just have a magnitude of misses coming out of it. So what we're going to work on here in these first 25 reps is from the top of our backswing, we're going to work on getting enough downward pressure and enough horizontal movement to get the golf swing started. So what I want you to do, Jace, is I want you to go ahead and load up to the top of the swing for me.
All right.
Okay, you can notice how Jace has widened up his base here for us. Okay, with the driver, we want to go a little bit wider for stability, and we also want to be able to promote more secondary tilt through the bottom. Now, to start this movement, what we want to do is you can see that he's turned his belt buckle and his buttons on his shirt back in behind the golf ball. We want to get both of those in front of the golf ball, which means our head and our chest are going to move a long ways. They're going to move too far. But when we do this movement, we also want to focus in on allowing ourselves to sit down into our lead side. If you notice Jace's movement here, you can see that not only is he trying to get the buttons and the belt buckle in front of the golf ball here, but his head is dropping down about an inch, inch and a half or so. That downward pressure is paramount before you start taking on step number 2. Now, Jace, let's talk to the people at home when you make this movement happen about what you feel in your lead foot. Let's go ahead and set up.
Yeah, absolutely. So
go up to the top for me. Okay, now make the move. Now, how much pressure do you feel underneath your lead foot?
I mean, almost all of it. Definitely 90%, but something I'm definitely noticing and feeling is to get to that left side, I really do need to feel that load to the right side, right? I'm not really like staying over here. Yep. It's feeling very dynamic. I'm feeling a nice shift back, and then just feeling that weight go to that left ankle about 80, 90%. And then obviously the buttons in the belt should just follow that naturally, right?
Absolutely. So that's a big, big key point here, is that you want to be able to move from a place, right? So in order for you to be able to move off of something, you've got to be able to load something up properly. So you should be starting with somewhere between 80 to 90% of your weight underneath your trail ankle. But Jace also said something really important here that I want a lot of you at home to start picking up on. And that is where the weight landed in his lead ankle as he started to make that downward pressure and trying to get his chest and his belt buckle in front of the golf ball. Where did that weight land? Well, it landed in his ankle. If you think about the weight moving underneath your ankle joint from the top of the backswing, then what that's forcing your hips to do is it's forcing your hips to start to move dynamically. And when you hear that word dynamically, that's the hips working in a horizontal and rotational sense. So if you focus on where that weight is landing, and you think about getting 90% of your weight underneath your lead ankle, and you just work on getting your belt buckle and your buttons on your shirt as far in front of the golf ball as you can possibly get it without falling over, then you've just completed step number 1. I want you to do this for 20 to 25 reps. Yes, it's gonna feel like a ton of movement. This is not a program that's designed to feel like a workout. This is a program that's designed to create awareness. So once you start to get the correct awareness of the weight shift onto the lead side, now you can start to embark on step number 2. When you get to the second component, this is where we really start to refine the sequence. Sequence is critical for your speed. We want you to understand that your legs and your hips are the engine to your golf swing. When you look at the equation, Jace, go ahead and load up to the top of the backswing for us.
All right.
What we like to say is that we've got the hips turned right at about 45 degrees and the shoulders turned 90. Now, if Jace were trying to hold his upper body wound as he started to make that shift left, and he took his hips from 45 degrees closed and put them to 45 degrees open, what would that do to the shoulder line on the way down? Well, that would move the shoulders back to a square position. Now, this second step is where we add the rotational part back to the mix here to slow down all of that horizontal movement that I had you doing in step number 1. So a great way to do this is I want you to bring an impact bag into the mix here. If you don't have one, get one. They're super important for you in your training because they do one very important thing. They stop you at the point of contact. And there's several drills that we use on the website that will teach you how to use these things properly. They're not just designed for you to whack them a whole bunch of times and you're gonna get better at the game of golf. They stop you at the point of contact. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna put the bag right in front of where the golf ball would be. We still have the tee there on the ground. And now what we're gonna be working on is as we start our downswing, as we start to move left, is we're gonna get our hips open to that 45-degree mark. But I also like to do one very important thing. And Jace knows I love to do this with people, is that I like to preset the impact position first to give yourself kind of a roadmap about what you're gonna try to feel. So I want everybody to stand up at home and I want you to widen your base, okay? And I want you to make sure that you've got yourself in a balanced position here, 50-50 at address. You've got the ball position off of the logo on your chest. And all I want you to do from this position is I want you to keep your head and your chest very still. I want you to shift your hips left. I want you to drop the belt buckle back slightly, a little bit more, which will increase the spine angle just a fraction. And now you should be able to see that the hips are open 45 and the shoulders are nice and square. That's the place that we're gonna be trying to move to. Now, how do we get here? Well, from the top of the golf swing, what I want Jace to start doing now is when he loads up there, and he's gonna be ready to make that downward movement onto his lead side, I want him to try to feel like he maintains the engagement in his core. And I want him to start working to shift and get his hips open just like he felt in that preset position. And as he's doing that, I want him to go ahead and let the club come down into the bag and stop. And as you can start out doing this, what you want to work on is making sure that you stay very slow and very connected to the movements. And as we start to get a little bit more proficient with it, I've got one little small piece in here that we're going to make sure that we add in before we start turning up the gas here. Okay, so let's go ahead and load up to the top now. Okay, so I want you to try to feel like you're maintaining your engagement to your core. Shift left. Okay, let's try to get a little bit more lateral movement of the upper body over there.
Okay.
So just a little bit. Good. Good. Perfect. Now as you start to feel comfortable with that downswing, you can start to go just a little bit faster, a little bit smoother. Maintain that connection. You want to try to feel like those shoulders stay wound, that core stays wound. Now, big piece of the puzzle that needs to be added in step number 2 before you start going into kamikaze mode in step number 3. And that is the position of the lead wrist. Now, if you look at Jace's lead wrist at impact, it's going to be pretty close to being anatomically flat. It may even be close to a little bit of flexion there. Now, when you see this position, it's going to vary as far as where the glove logo is pointed based off of your grip strength. If you have a really weak grip, your glove logo would be pointed perfectly down the target line. If you have a really strong grip, your glove logo is going to be pointed more out in front of you here. Okay, now to check this, when you come down and hit the bag, you want to make sure that the club face is nice and square, and you want to make sure that that lead wrist is at least anatomically flat. Once you can do this really proficiently, let's just say for about 25 reps or so after you've done the slow methodical ones, and you've got the right combination of lateral movement, that downward pressure, and you've got the sequence buttoned up, now we can start picking up the pace here a little bit. So let's go ahead and do 5 or 10 reps, give some examples at home. So load up to the top, okay, shift left, okay, good. Now notice how he's not trying to create a lot of secondary tilt. In fact, when he comes down in the hitting area right now, if he were to hit a golf ball, he would be still hitting down on it. We're gonna increase the angle of attack here in step number 3 when we start picking up the pace. So the key here is to get downward pressure onto that lead side. So that's that weight shift component. The second component is to land in that good impact position by working on your sequence. You want the hips to pull the shoulders around. Let's do 1 or 2 more.
Okay.
Up to the top, shift left, good, open those hips up, good. Okay, let's pick it up a little bit. Good, make sure the club face is nice and square. So there's your checkpoints. Hips open 45, shoulders nice and square. What you can start to do, if you want to be a little bit more to a draw bias, what do you want the shoulders to look like if you want to hit a draw?
You can have them a little bit more closed if you want to go towards that draw bias, right?
Exactly. So your hands and your arms are going to move in the direction in which your shoulders are pointed. So when you come down to the hitting area and you're nice and square at the point of contact, then there's a pretty good chance, if you're releasing the club properly, that you're going to hit a good straight shot. If your shoulders are closed, what you're going to feel is that the hands and arms are going to be working a little bit more in to out, which will help you produce a little bit more of a draw. For those of you that want to hit a fade, what you're going to do is when the when the hips start to open up, you're going to want to let the shoulders come along with it just a little bit and have them open, let's just say 5, 10, or 15 degrees. You can become a good ball striker and actually work on creating different curvature inside of this drill. So not only are you going to have good sequence, but you're going to have better shot management. So let's go ahead and just work on a couple of draw ones now.
Okay.
Okay. Shoulders are closed, good. So his hands and his arms will be working more out towards right field. Good. Do it again. So you try to do it a little bit more fluidly on the way down. Okay, good. Now let's see if you can get down into that bag with no tension in the hands and the arms. Just let it come down a little bit quicker. Good. There, you feel that?
Yep.
Okay, now let's try to hit a cut.
Okay.
So we're still trying to maintain restriction. Body's moving left, good. Shoulders are going to turn open. Okay, make sure you get the club face back to square. Okay, good. You can see how much more Jace can do the cut, or how much easier he can do a cut, because that's his natural shot shape. I am a drawer of the golf ball, so it would be very easy for me to be able to see my shoulders stay closed. That right there is step number 2. Step number 3. This is where we're actually going to start to increase the secondary tilt. Now, when you hear me use the term secondary and primary tilt, I want you to understand that at my address position here with my driver, okay, I've got my spine leaning just inside my lead knee. So you can see that if I drape it down my chest, down my belt buckle, that's my primary tilt. At impact, that tilt's going to increase. Post-impact, it's going to continue to increase. This is where, if you keep the head and the chest back, you're going to start to really create a whole lot more speed down here. This is that fancy term that a lot of you have probably heard us talk about in the past, that parametric acceleration, right? There's a lot more that goes to that. But by holding the body back and releasing the club and letting all that tension come out of the hands and the arms, now what you're doing is you're creating a rate of closure in the club face that's going to be manageable, but you're also starting to increase the angle of attack a little bit here. So you're not going to be hitting down on it as much. So what we're going to do now, bring Jace back in here, is we're going to make some reps here where we're going to go a little bit slow at first, 70 to 80% speed. We're going to think about getting ourselves shifted, getting those hips opened up. We're going to work on trying to feel our shoulders stay square. But I want Jace, when he starts to feel the hands and the arms working through where that impact would be, is I want him to keep his buttons on his shirt behind the belt buckle on his body here. I want him to feel like these work back behind it. That's how you're gonna create this little bit of tilt. So you're gonna think about the buttons on the shirt working back behind the belt buckle as your hands and arms start to pass through the release. So let's go ahead and start working on some reps here. Okay, up to the top, shift left. Okay, feel those buttons stay back and behind the belt buckle?
I do.
Okay, you should be able to reduce the tension in the hands quite a bit now. Good, really good. Use a tee on the ground so that you have something that you can aim at. That tee just went behind you. You wanna grab that?
Oh, we can put that back.
Yep.
We need it.
So start out by just hitting a tee here at first. Okay, you wanna think about getting your body to the right spot, making sure that you're working in the right sequence. So allow the chest to work back into position. Get those hips opened up, pull those shoulders around. Get really good at this, and then make sure as you're starting to release the club that you feel those buttons on the shirt working back behind your belt buckle, and you're gonna start feeling what it's like to be able to produce really efficient speed. You feel how much faster that is now?
Oh yeah, let's go ahead and do a full speed one, why don't we?
Yep.
See what that's like. Only gonna focus on buttons staying behind the belt buckle.
Yeah, there you go.
That's really fast.
Yep. Big thing to remember, now that we're ready to hit some golf balls, is don't worry about the results at first. Stay connected to the hard work that you just did. All that big shift, the downward pressure, thinking about that sequence of movements, you should be really good at that stuff before you start trying to put the speed on it. If you know that you're not good at those things, then don't go to step number 3 and start trying to hit golf balls with this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Take your time. The people that take their time and go the slowest early on in the process are the ones that always get to the end result the fastest. And I know that's super cliche, and I know a lot of you at home are probably tired of hearing that, but how many of you at home have ever really seen an impactful change to your golf swing? When's the last time you've seen it? Going back to the point that Jason and I made at the beginning, people don't get better at this game because you don't practice properly. These drills that I'm giving you, yes, I talk a lot, I get that, but I'm giving you information to create that sort of intellectual understanding that you need to have in order to be able to start the processes of being able to drill properly. Get connected to these movements, and you're gonna be a better driver of the golf ball. We're gonna do a 1-to-1 ratio. Right. One good practice swing, trying to put it all together. Okay, let's do one good fluid one. Let's not go at a kamikaze speed here. All right, that was good there. Feel those shoulders staying nice and square as you...
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Buttons are behind the ball. Everything feels great.
Good.
I think we can play that.
Roped. You had a draw.
Buttons behind the ball, baby.
That was good. That was really good.
Oh yeah.
Practice this properly. Give yourself a little grace in this process. And if you need any help at any point from Jace or myself, then come over to the website. Sign up with us. You can sit down with us in a consult format. We'll look at your golf swings with you. We will walk you through exactly what your protocol is going to be, your plan, and we will make sure that you have endless support every single step of the way, which is a really nice thing. Because a lot of you at home watch videos and watch videos and watch videos. Mike, you watch a lot of videos. We watch a lot of videos, and we don't really see a lot of progress from students because you might not be working on the right thing at the right time, or simply put, you don't know how to practice. That's what we help you with here at MyGolfDNA. We'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.